In order to change our lives, we need to first change the lenses in which we are operating. That is your identity. Your identity drives your behavior, your actions, beliefs. It drives everything else. The life that you live right now and the life that you see and experience, it is experienced first in your subconscious, in your mind, and then it reflects outward. I've been told this a lot of times. Jenny, you're such a daydreamer. Well, that daydreaming has got me here. That daydreaming has got me to build something bigger than myself. That daydreaming has got me into places and into doors and into rooms that I would have never been able to. Hello guys, welcome to another solo episode of House of Impact podcast. This is your host, Jenny Core, and before we start, I want to say thank you to everyone that supports and streams and downloads. That means a lot to me and my team and everyone that's working to make the show happen. And I also want to say we've got quite a high number of you that listen to us and are not subscribed. We're trying to get that down to 50 or 60%. So if there's one favor I need to ask from you is that please subscribe, because that really helps the show grow more than you think. If you are on Spotify, just follow the show, leave a review. You've got it really helps the show grow. So I really hope that that we can get the message out there. In this solo episode, I want to talk about a concept that it's been rolling through social media, but it's not a concept that's a stranger concept to me. In fact, I realized later on that I lived my life with that concept, and that is the concept of identity, and it's the concept of Be.Do.Have instead of have, do, be. And I want to talk about this because everything that we experience, everything that we see around us, your life, the life that you see around you, is created by your mind, is created by the identity that you are operating towards. So in order to change our lives, we need to first change the lenses in which we are operating. And that is your identity. Your identity drives everything. It drives your behavior. It drives your actions. It drives the way you see yourself, your self-concept. It drives your beliefs, your values. It drives everything else. The life that you live right now and the life that you see and experience, it is experienced first in your subconscious, in your mind, and then it reflects outward. So in order to change the life that you have, in order to make more money, in order to start a new career, in order to find success, whatever that means to you, in order to put the vision board or the goals that you have and experience those in real life, you need to change the be. You need to change you. You need to change your identity. Because if you don't do that, nothing will change. And this is such an important topic because I've changed my life in 6 months. Last year, or the beginning of this year, was not in a good spot. I was going through a lot. And I was like, how can I make the life that I want happen? And after that question, it raised another question. Who do I have to become to make that life happen? How do I have to think to make that life happen? How do I have to behave to make that life happen? And then after I ask myself those questions, and that's not something that you can just do in an afternoon, in the morning, that takes time. That takes months, okay? Maybe a year. It will take you time. But it's the most important work that you will ever do in your life. And after I asked myself those questions, I asked myself what it will require of me to become the person that I know I can be. And after that, I started to be like, okay, what are the traits that that person has? What's the identity that that person has? That person that's in my subconscious, in another reality, has. And I started writing all the traits: courage, boldness, resilience, persistence, consistency, discipline, positive self-talk, all of the traits that you could even think of. I wrote all of those down. And then I did a comparison. This is such a powerful identity work, and I really hope that you are taking pen and paper and noting this down. And then I did a comparison. In another, like on a column, I took comparisons of like all of the things that I was not doing. So you could see the contrast on what are your destructive habits that you have, negative self-talk that you have, behaviors that you have. Compare it to what are the things that that person that already has what you want has. And that person is you in just different identity. And so I wrote that down, and I'm like, okay, who do I have to be to have the things, to do the things that that person does, so I can have the things that that person has? And I started becoming and behaving like that person. Whenever people would ask me, like, what do you do? I would say, I'm a top ranked podcaster. Oh, amazing. Like, do you interview people, like known people? And I said, yes. And I started giving a name of dream guests that I knew one day I would interview. And since I started podcasting, since I launched the show, since I started putting myself out there from scratch, totally from scratch, I've done it from that B place. I was sleeping, eating, thinking as a top podcaster. I studied the greats. I studied the people that had or that were being the person that I need to become. And I started embodying that. And I started praying to God for wisdom and courage and strength on my habits, so I could turn the bad habits I had into positive ones that would get me closer to that point. And whenever I say this to my friends or to people that ask me on DMs, or I ask my guest, this is the one thing they had. They became that person in order to achieve what they've achieved in their lives. And we're talking about top percent minds here. We're talking about, I've had people in the show that were in the NFL. I had people in the show that run the top 1% business and companies and top percent of their field, truly top percent of the field. And all of them said the exact same thing. I became that person before I was that person. Because what happens is that if you do have to be, you will never get anywhere. It might get you somewhere, but you will not get to the goals that you have. And I know, because I was doing that. Once I have the money, I will do this, and then I'll become this. Once I have the audience, I will do this, and I'll become this. Once I have the studio, once I have the partner, once I have the career, once I have the job. But you cannot have the job if you first don't become the person that will get the job. You cannot have the business that you want if you first don't become the person that has that business. You won't have, I don't know, if you have a podcast, if you have like whatever it is that you want to have it if you really don't become that person, because people don't invest into something. They invest into someone. They invest into a person. If I would not have become or have kept saying to myself, I'm a top podcaster, I'm a top podcaster, I'm a top podcaster, I wouldn't have had all the guests that I had. I wouldn't run the show to the standard that I run it to. I wouldn't have attracted amazing editors, an amazing team, amazing opportunities. I wouldn't. And so I became that person. And the more I did the things that that person does, the more it ingrained in my subconscious, which takes me to the second point. You need to move, and you need to become that person and act as if that person you want to become, the things that you want to do, the things you want to have already happened and are present with you here today. This exercise is powerful because your subconscious scans for lack, for scarcity. That's our default. That's how our brains work. In order for you to spot growth and to see opportunities and to walk into those opportunities and to open those doors, you need to train your brain for opportunity and for growth. And it doesn't need to be anything big at the beginning. You just go get a coffee and they give you a coupon for something, or they give you a discount for a protein bar or for whatever that is. You will be like, oh, I have to spend another $5 on a coffee table, well, whatever. But if you change and see that opportunity as growth, it's like, oh my gosh, like next time I get a coffee, I get another coffee for free. That's amazing. For example, another example, when you do a meeting, you in a career or you have a business, what is it you're building, and you train yourself to spot growth, you will start thinking, how can I help? How can I bring value to this person? And who does this person know that I don't know that would open me doors? That is so important. And it takes me to something that we had Simon Alexander Ong into the show, which I'm really grateful for. Probably a lot of you guys know him. He wrote the book Energize. He talked about the third door concept. And since he talked about that concept, I cannot erase it from my mind. He talked about this book that's called The Third Door. And it's about Alex Benaya. And he basically talks about this concept of when you are in a nightclub, how many doors do you have to go through? 2. You have the VIP door, where all the VIP are to like skip the queue. And then you have the queue with all of the people that are not VIP. You've got 2 doors. But if you train your brain to see growth and spot growth, your brain thinks, oh, what about the back door? And so your brain starts thinking how to get into the back door so you can skip the queue. You don't have to queue for VIP if you don't have VIP, and you can still get there faster through the third door. And that was such a big aha moment in my life, because when I started the podcast and when I started I completely changed careers last year, I kept doing the third door thing without even realizing. But the reason I kept doing that is because I was already being the person that has a top ranked podcast. So the way that I thought completely shifted. And so my life and circumstances rearranged itself to match what I was thinking. So every time that I had a guest into the podcast, I always ask them, who do you know that I don't know that could be a good fit to come into the show? That's a third door, right? I could have gone into social media, I could have gone into email. Those are the first 2 doors. But if you go to the third door, you will realize that the opportunities that you want, that you need for growth, the resources, the people, they were always there. You were just not looking for it, or you were just not ready to step into it. And that's such a big concept, and that's only something that you can see and activate and embody and make happen when you are operating from Be, Do, Have. I cannot really stress this enough. And after you be, then you start doing all of these things. You start looking for the third doors. You start looking for how to bring value to people and growth to people. And that growth comes to you tenfold. And then you have the things that you dreamt about, the things that you had in your mind. Like, guys, like, when I tell you this, is I really don't know how to put this into words. But for all of you that follow me on social media, you already see it. But like, I am recording podcast episodes around the world. I'm going to States in 3 days. Probably when this airs, I'm already there to record podcast. I'm recording podcast in London. I record podcast in Bali. And you know what the craziest thing is? That this time last year, I said to myself, next year, I will be in the States. I will be in Austin recording podcasts with the people that I once looked up to. A year later, I'm going to the States to record podcasts with people that I looked up to. You cannot make this up. And I feel really called to share this. God can only multiply what you make space for. God can only multiply what's in your hands, what you hold. If you don't hold the vision that you have for yourself, God, creator of the universe, will do nothing with it. You need to, and the only way that things can multiply is if you step onto it and you say, God, here's what I've got. Teach me, show me, guide me, multiply it. And you got to trust yourself, but that comes from you being that person and then does the things that person does, to trust yourself to hold the breakthroughs, to trust yourself to hold the growth. When you've got a big opportunity in front of you, see it, spot it. Because there's so many routes and there's so many other ways that you will get to the place that you want to get to. But a lot of people are delaying their success, and that was also me, because they don't look for a third door. They don't look for the back door because their brain is not spotted that way. This might be a bit controversial, but like, I don't like queuing. So whenever I see a queue, I don't stand on the queue. I always look for the third door. And believe me and trust me on this, there's always a third door. There's always a way to skip the queue. There's always a way to accelerate your growth. There's always a way. There's always a way to make what you want happen by being that person that already has, and it's living in the vision that you have in your mind. And when you do all this stuff, you will have what you once envisioned, because you've behaved like that person. You've been doing things that person does. You've been behaving, changing your behavioral patterns and neural pathways to become that person. Every time that you do something that person that already has what you want has, it's an imprint into your subconscious. The more you do it, and the more you write down your vision every morning, write down in present tense. I am talking across stages in the whole world. I run one of the top podcasts in the States and in the UK. I'm being given all of these opportunities to go and speak at stages, to go and make this happen. Whatever it is that you want, just write it every single morning in past tense, as if you are already that person, and watch what happens in 7 days. Watch what happens in 30. Watch what happens in 90 days. Your life will be changed. 100%. Your life will be changed. I'm living proof of that. Your life will be changed. And whenever you feel like you are falling backwards or falling back into bad habits, because it will take a long for this to stick, go back to being. like feel that feeling. Feel the feelings that person already has, what you want has. Because if that person would not be within yourself, somehow you wouldn't even have the vision, you wouldn't even have the dream. A lot of times, I don't know if you guys probably I've been told this a lot of times, like, Jenny, you're such a daydreamer. Well, that daydreaming has got me here. That daydreaming has got me to build something bigger than myself. That daydreaming has got me into places and into doors and into rooms that I would have never been able to. And I still daydream. I daydream about like who I'm going to marry. I did dream about my family, the kids I'm going to have. I did dream about my career. I did dream about my friendships, my relationship with my family. And because of that, I keep rearranging in my mind, in my subconscious first, how I want that situation to feel and to plan out. And then I leave it to God. I was like, God, if this is your will, then let your will be done. But I take the first step. And you got to take the first step. And that's how, when you don't have anything, like I come from nothing, when you don't have anything, we don't have resources, which, by the way, you do. You just need to look around. That's how you be. That's how you be. And every single person I had on the podcast, every single great mind that I've interviewed, all of them were already like being instead of doing. Because if you do before being, it's going to take you way, way longer and way more than it needs to take for you to get where you want to be. And that's what I did. It's all about identity, and also recognizing that identity, it's a thermostat. You've got a thermostat within yourself. Whenever you're stepping up into that identity, you will feel fear and you will face uncertainty. But that's not a bad thing. You're just adjusting the thermostat. You're just adjusting your temperature. You're just adjusting your risk aversion levels that you have for yourself. You're just adjusting your vision for yourself for the future. And it's going to come with a little bit of resistance, and it's going to come with a little bit of fear, and it's going to come with a little bit of uncertainty. But I can tell you, like, my life has never been more uncertain than what it is now. And I've never felt more fired up and more fulfilled and confident and bold and courageous than now. Because it's uncertain, but I know that if I keep being that person, if I keep being, I will get there. And you can really make it happen way faster than you think if you stop doing and you stop being. And so that's what I did. And that's what I keep doing. That's why every day I keep reminding myself, what is Jenny in a year from now? Or what is Jenny being? How does she think? How does she breathe? How does she move? How does she feel? How does she interact with people? How does she run a team? How does she run a production team? How does she run a podcast? How does she run friendships or family? Like, how do I behave with those relationships? And it just makes a huge change. And I really hope that this episode helps you be calm and be that person that already has what you want. And I really hope that these exercises really, really help you, because I am going to tell you again, I am living proof. Everything that you see from your screen or listen to was in my mind. So whatever it's on your mind, you can make it happen in reality if you apply the Be.Do.Have. I hope this episode is helpful. Please, if you haven't done it yet, subscribe and share with a friend that needs it. And I will see you on the next episode.